Hi, folks. So this is another one of our short podcasts, which we done a few weeks ago. Just kind of looking at one topic, focusing on it and covering it in depth, I suppose. And today's topic is recovery methods and supplementation practices. So yeah, I start from the top, I suppose. Do you want to go with food, sleep? Or do you want to?
I think diet before you look at supplements probably be the best way, because
Absolutely, yeah.
like if you're not eating right, you're never going to recover properly.
No.
So again, like even just like talking to people who come into the shop in Galway, I ask them kind of like what they're eating, and like first they tell me like, oh, I'm having like 3,000 calories a day, and I actually ask them what they're eating, and then we kind of work it out, and they're probably like you could be underneath 2,000 calories, and then if you're burning over that, then like you're constantly in calorie deficit, and people wonder why they're feeling like shit all the time, or they're not actually recovering or getting any bigger.
Yeah.
That's just because like your diet isn't on track, like, and probably not eating the right kind of foods as well, like, and understanding the differences of like empty calories and proper calories, like comparing 300 calories of chocolate compared to 300 calories of chicken, it's two completely different things, like. So definitely like educating yourself. I mean, like you can get nutritionists to give you a diet, but at the same time you need to learn it yourself. Like that's like even with my clients, I kind of more like guide them, because like they need to understand, like they need to understand like the whole kind of like method of it, so that like going forward themselves, they know how to kind of stay on track with things, like.
Yeah, no, it makes sense.
Yeah, exactly. I think definitely diet is probably the first place to start, and like the old school way of looking at making sure there's enough veg, fiber, so that you're getting all of the micronutrients, because we always look at the macros and people are looking at like their volume and their calories, but the micronutrients is where a lot of your on a cellular basis, your health needs to be topped up, I suppose.
And you get a lot of efficiencies that way as well.
And that's it. So the less supplementation you will need if you are actually eating across the board with your various colors and all the bits and bobs.
And like if you can't get the actual food right, you don't need to supplement. I mean, the thing is, it's in the word.
To a certain amount, like, I definitely say like vitamin D is extremely important.
Sorry. What I meant to say was, if you can't get your food right, you probably shouldn't bother supplementing.
Yes.
Sorry, I meant I totally misworded myself. You should be focused on getting your food right before supplements, because it's in the word supplements. It supplements your nutrition, it supplements your food. So
topping up.
I think, and it's not that complicated for someone doing strong matter powerlifting to get the basics right. It's not that complicated. We'll go through that now, I suppose. So day to day, I suppose you want to go through what you're doing, or how would you want to tackle this one?
I suppose, I mean, because like I recently started a new diet, so I'm kind of like on less calories than I was kind of towards the end of last year. Like, but
tell them how much calories you're eating to lose weight. It's funny.
I'm on 4,755 calories
to lose weight.
And I am fucking hungry, I can say that much. But it's great, so it's like kind of 6 eggs in the morning with some vegetables, a few slices of soda bread, and then 130 grams of porridge with a banana and protein shake, and then 150 grams of rice, 250 grams of chicken with vegetables, and have a scone with some jam and a banana before training. You come home then, 150 grams of rice, 300 grams of minced vegetables, and then some whey protein and Greek yogurt before I go to bed.
So straight away, even listen to that, you're getting your fiber in there, you've got your protein, you've got your carbohydrates. So you're getting a good broad range of what we should be getting. And your soluble fiber for your porridge and stuff, which is for the cholesterol levels and stuff. So it's all good.
And that's your base, like that's before you're adding in all your supplements and everything else.
And even I talk about like the person who's helping me with my diet, like we're saying how once as the weeks goes on, if training gets more intense, obviously we can up the calories. There's no need for me to be like staying on like 6,000 calories all year round, because then that's how you become a fat mess. Like, so it's kind of more, it's like same even with your training, like you gotta, like with your diet, like you gotta pull back your diet in accordance to like where you're at the moment. Like, so I mean, like you couldn't be at like same thing, you can't be at like peak training levels all year round. The same way you can't be at like peak diet levels all year round. So it's more about knowing when to kind of pull back and when to push forward on it.
And you're at a good stage now to pull back, because you're so far out from competition at the moment. So it's a good time to like pull back and maybe work on your body composition a little bit, be fitter, be healthier. And then when the time comes to get up to 6 again, you'll actually get the benefit out of going up to 6 again. If it is 6, you go to 5.5 or whatever, like you will get the benefit of that, because you're now doing something new essentially that your body's not used to. Whereas you stick to 6 all year round, you have to go to 7 to get something, or 6.5 to get something else out of it. Which is
useless. Like,
I mean, like, where'd you go from there? You're eventually at 10, and like you said, you're a fat strong man. I can't move anymore. You're not fit.
Messy, like,
Okay. So what do you do then? What are you supplementing? What's your go-to?
Well, kind of like first off, I feel like, again, working in a supplement store, I get a lot of people asking me what should I be taking, and the 3 ones I say, like, for like everybody, more importantly, say vitamin D and omega-3, mainly because like everybody has got a vitamin D deficiency. Even if you're in a warm country, it doesn't mean that you're going to be high in vitamin D, which is really important for recovery, as well as kind of just your mood as well. Omega-3, very good for your joints, as well as kind of like brain support and stuff. With creatine, it's just like I always tell people, like, especially if you're starting off in the gym, wait a couple of months until you take creatine, like, because like there's no, like, if you, fair enough, you could take it as you're starting, but like if you're starting off new, you're going to get all those newbie gains. So it's best to like get your newbie gains, wait until they start to like die down, and then start taking creatine.
There's a noticeable benefit from taking creatine if you took it for the first time in particular.
Huge amounts. Like,
I remember the first time I ever took it, I was like, whoa, I actually feel stronger here after a couple of weeks.
Yeah, and again, it's like really good helping with the ATP release and the muscles and stuff. So, and as well, probably the best way to actually take creatine is put it in with like orange juice. Anything that's kind of high in vitamin C, because it will bind onto vitamin C and your body will be able to absorb it more. Whereas like if you put it in water, it's very grainy, so it can't fully dissolve in the water. And what happens sometimes, your body would actually kind of expel it out instead of actually like fully absorbing it. So those 3 definitely, anyways, I think everybody should be taking. And then like if you wanted to like try and increase your recovery wise, like zinc and magnesium, really good to be taken before bed, because like with zinc, it's really good for cell reproduction. So especially when you're going to sleep, you get some zinc in, you help recover the muscles while you're sleeping. Again, magnesium, very good to kind of help kind of relax yourself in the evening time. Ashwagandha was kind of like a pseudoscience for a while, but has been like proven more and more that it's actually very beneficial. Really good for just kind of just like help controlling, monitor, like keep calm state of mind, as well as naturally boosting your testosterone level. One thing I will say, if you are a very energetic person and you take ashwagandha, you may have the opposite side effects, that it may actually bring you down a lot. That's been something that's been noted, where people who are just generally very like upbeat and energetic, they take ashwagandha and it actually just brings them down a little bit too much. So that's one thing you got to be wary of as well. And do not mix it with alcohol, because it's not, you won't have a good time if you mix ashwagandha. You can get very sloppy if you mix the 2 of them together. Like, so just something to be kind of like warned about in that. Like, again, like other kind of things that's kind of have down here, like CBD, very good, especially like after training as well. Just going to help like the muscles kind of relax and stuff. Then other things are kind of like what we use, like EAA, Cerberus intra-workout. If you're looking, a lot of people are kind of always wondering between like BCAAs and EAAs. You probably are better to get the EAAs, because you're getting like BCAAs plus you're getting more in them. So with the BCAAs you got 3 amino acids, and with the EAAs you got 9, I'm pretty sure. So you are getting more value for money with the EAA, and especially if you can get it with electrolytes. So with the Cerberus one, you got like the coconut water extract, you got Himalayan salts, sodium, magnesium, potassium, everything. So like very good for kind of rehydrating yourself, especially if you're kind of like very kind of sweaty, or like a hot day, or if you got like a a long competition or something. Like, can be very good to keep yourself kind of topped up so you don't get any muscle tears or anything like that.
It's my favorite supplement, actually.
Oh, so it made such a difference, like ever since I started using it. Like, but again, like I spoke about before, the R4 product, very good if you're like weight cutting, or because you got all the carbohydrates, all your electrolytes, protein in there as well. And again, like even like whey isolate, like some people are afraid to take whey isolate because they don't want to get too bulky. You're getting about maybe 120 calories out of the whey isolate, so it's really not that much. And try and get it in within a half hour after your workout to try and optimize your recovery, so your body doesn't start eating away at its own protein reserves. But does anybody else want to say anything?
Honestly, you've kind of covered everything, because you said amazing.
No, not really, because there's from a woman's perspective.
Oh, yeah.
I'll have you know, sir. No, I think one of the biggest things there, especially for female athletes or women who train hard, is their iron and their iron stores, right? Yeah. And it's one of the biggest things we see, particularly women who are of childbearing age, who are still menstruating. You are going to lose blood once a month, plus you need more red blood cells for the more muscle mass you have and the more work you do. So one of the biggest things you can see is iron deficiency in women, particularly if they're not eating a lot of red meat. and they're not getting the green leafy veg, which tends to be, we've spoken about before, sometimes women's diets are not the best. So I would always encourage the iron with the vitamin B complex to, like, so vitamin B6, B12, whatever. Really good as well for brain function and brain support, but also for mood. So if you're experiencing low mood or breathlessness, there's a whole range of symptoms that people are not sure what's going on with them, and they're low in iron or their folate levels are low. So I would always recommend iron and a vitamin B complex for women. Vitamin C, zinc, magnesium, and vitamin D. Again, they're very much in my regime. I tend to take the zinc and magnesium before bed. Particularly, as I find, if you have trouble sleeping, it is a really good one for inducing sleep and a deep sleep.
Deep sleep,
So one I've been taking as well more recently is the Animal Pack Joint Flex, and more, I suppose, because I'm more aware now with tendons gone, and I suppose age, to try and take care of the joints a little bit more. And they are like the whole spectrum of minerals and micronutrients for joint health. Another one I'm fond of at the moment is lion's mane.
Lion's mane mushrooms,
So I've been taking the lion's mane there quite regularly, and I actually find it's doing for me what CBD used to do, which actually gives me that calmer. If I'm feeling a bit overwhelmed or a bit high dough, it's kind of taking the edge off things a little bit. So I'm a bit of a fan of that at the moment. Ashwagandha as well. I will take that, not all the time, but every day.
All the time,
I kind of use it in conjunction with lion's mane at the moment. There's a sport version of it as well. It's actually very good for cardiovascular health. There's links to that as well. So for sports, so it's a good one to have for that. And collagen peptides. So I started taking collagen as an added into. I've been drinking pro coffee actually, which has got L-theanine and stuff in it. But I just put it into one or two scoops in the morning, just to boost that collagen. And again, one of the issues you can get with tendonitis and stuff is that when it's trying to repair itself, it doesn't repair itself with correctly if you don't have enough collagen in your body and you're not producing enough collagen if your diet isn't great. So there's different types of collagen as well, so just be aware of that. Type 1 and 2 primarily for skin, hair and nails, which is great as well, but the type 3 I think is more around joints and joint health. So but you can get like a collagen. I'm using an all-in-one collagen peptide that has the whole spectrum of like 5 different types of collagen in it, so they're all out there, they're all available. Creatine, I've been taking a little bit more recently. Just lifestyle at the moment means we're not meal prepping or cooking as well as we should be. So we're using a lot kind of clean cut meals and stuff. So not as much meat or red meat as I would. I'd also cut back on red meat a bit because of cholesterol levels. So I've been using the creatine just the past couple of weeks just to boost that. So 1 scoop a day, just to give me that little bit of boost. Protein, whey isolate, something I'd use more so as my knowledge has increased, particularly as a woman in her 40s. It's more, it's better for women of this age to pulse their protein, has been found. So instead of like having your protein in 1, 2, 3 big bulks of protein, is that we pulse around 20 grams of protein throughout the day. And we get more benefit from it. So that's why
more spread out. Is that what you're saying?
More spread out, So instead of where you would be encouraged to say, if you were to look at your macros, to have like 30 grams of protein over 4 meals or something, whatever that macro is for protein for women, they say once you're hitting around your 40s, it's advised to go 20 grams because we process it better. And we work, our bodies will process in those 20 gram pulses throughout the day rather than these big bulks of protein. So that's why I've been kind of just taking the isolate as well, just to boost that a little bit. And that's pretty much it. Quite similar to yourself, but say the iron is a big one, I think, for the women.
You kind of have a lot of the same essentials as it would be, like a few different things just to suit your own personal needs.
Just one thing quickly to say is just like, again, working in like kind of health store stuff, people kind of come in and are always asking about like the differences between the proteins. So like if you're gonna get like the regular whey isolate, that means it's going to come from like a dairy source, and it is probably like the best source you can get it from. Now I know some people, they like, if they're vegan, they go for like the vegan source, and then if other people are like lactose intolerant, you get like a beef protein. They are good products to take if you have dietary requirements, but you got to understand you're not going to get the full stack of amino acids in there. Like, so especially if you're having like a deficiency in one thing, you're going to have to kind of look to see at the products you're taking and compare, because especially with beef isolates in particular, they're very low in L-leucine. Like, so if you're kind of more looking to like bulk up on things, you kind of like build more kind of lean muscle, you may have to buy a leucine by itself, kind of supplement that in with it. Like, so it's kind of, you're always going to get that trade-off like with it. Like, but again, regular whey isolate would be the best one to go for. But you know, if you can't, you just got to be a bit more aware of these things, because I've had some people kind of come in and they're getting like protein for deficiencies, but they notice it's not working. It's because they're not getting the full stack of the EAAs that you would usually be getting from whey isolates. Like, so that's just kind of one thing to be a bit more conscious of as well.
So when I competed, I took basically none of this. I had such good ability to eat and like eat well. I honestly I still do, yeah. Like I would have no problem smashing 6 or 7 clean meals a day, and it was clean food. Like, and even like, and I was very anal about what I did. It had to be eggs in the morning, and then it'd be chicken, red meat, and I'd have cottage cheese just before bed with nuts, because that had slow casein. Casein, and the nuts would slow down the release even more. So it'd kind of drip feed me protein essentially through the night. But I was very much on point with everything that I was supposed to be doing, and I was like, I don't need supplements, because plus, like, I don't like give that amazing stuff. I sleep like a baby. I don't need that. Like,
you keep telling people.
Yeah. You know, and like for me, it was like good multivitamin, vitamin C, vitamin D.
So you're getting your micronutrients still, though, like from that.
The extra, because I probably am the best at eating veg, to be perfectly honest. But I am very good for everything else. And I just personally, like, I always went with electrolytes around training. Always electrolytes around training, because I'd sweat a lot. But for me, it was the most important thing was, like, I get good sleep, good hydration, and plenty of good food, and that kind of served me okay. Like, I'm wrecked now because I trained like a donkey, like, as well from through my younger years. But you know, that was kind of my go-to personally. Like, but like, I totally see the benefits of all of this as well, as long as the food is right. I think adding this on top is only going to benefit.
And like we said, I think sometimes people look for a quick fix in a tablet, like they do for diets. And it doesn't work that way. There is not a magic.
I think the worst thing people could do with this is listen to what you do and you do with your supplements, and go, I'm going to take all of that. And then, you know, like you said, how about these people coming in the shop then and silly kind of living on calorie deficit, and there's no quality to their food and stuff like that.
It's like one thing as well, like, it's always best to kind of, like, if you are looking to take, like, do these things, like, take one supplement at a time, because if you take 3 or 4 things at one time, you're not sure what's actually working. So then it's like you kind of get in like very kind of like a difficult kind of situation, because like one thing might not be working, and you can just kind of end up like wasting your money on something that isn't actually kind of benefiting. So always take it like one thing at a time. And even like with creatine, like, I always tell people, like, take some time off of creatine, because if you constantly have it in your system, your body gets too used to having it, and you can actually kind of like diminish your long-term results by constantly taking it all the time. I'd say, like, you know, if you're taking it for like, say, like 8 weeks, come off for about maybe like 2 or 3 weeks and go back on, and you'll be able, in the long run. I know, like, some people, like, their egos, they think, oh, like, I'm going to get smaller, I'm going to get weaker, but you got it, again, it's more about the long-term goal of this, like, so it's kind of something to note as well.
If you two were to narrow down 3 of supplements off your list that would be top priority, what would they be?
For me, it would be the iron, vitamin B, vitamin C, zinc, and magnesium. Those that, because you get that in the complex anyway. So the iron and vitamin B complex.
Okay, so that's one.
And the vitamin C with the zinc, magnesium, and vitamin D. You'd get that all in one.
Okay.
So it's not like it's because the other side of that is to understand that the absorption of certain minerals is reliant on others. So if I was to say to you, just take vitamin D, but you're low in vitamin C and zinc, that absorption rate of that vitamin D is going to be null and void. So if I was to say to anyone, what are you going to take? Get a multivitamin that has a good vitamin C, zinc, magnesium, vitamin D, iron and vitamin B complex all in one. Like a good multivitamin, not some cheap one from the pound shop. But that would be my recommendation: a good multivitamin with iron and vitamin B in it.
And you?
I'd say I'd have to go with the zinc and magnesium, vitamin D, and I'd probably go for like intra-workout, like an EA intra-workout. I just say with EA intra-workout, like, there's just so many benefits out of it, like, especially kind of like day-to-day kind of stuff. Like even if you're like a person who's like training late in the day, and if, let's say, if you don't have enough time to eat in between work and going to the gym, getting in like an intra-workout before you go into the gym will, like, it'll top you up with everything you need. So you'll have a little bit more endurance, kind of slow down, kind of to break down the muscles and stuff, like. And it's just, especially if you're trying to keep your calories underneath a certain point, use it, especially again, even like people like working night shifts and stuff, getting something like this can help you get the recovery you need without like, you know, tipping over, especially like if you don't want to be eating late in the day or something like that.
That's interesting. You both had the ZMAs basically and the vitamin D in there, so that's obviously high priority for both of you.
Yeah, definitely.
No, just interesting. I figured I'd ask that because not everyone's going to be able to afford these lists.
Absolutely.
No,
you know, and I think we just narrowed it down to the
most important
top 3. And look, you both have 2 of them 3, so that's massive. Like ZMAs, so that'll actually lead into the next thing. ZMAs, you take them for sleep. Yeah. So how important do we find sleep for performance recovery?
Massive.
Oh, massive.
Hugely. Like that's gonna make a break for a lot of people. Like, I mean, if you're not getting enough, you're never gonna like. You could be eating, you know, you could be in like calorie surplus every single fucking day. You could be training your ass off, but like if you're already getting like 5 hours of sleep, like good luck, like that. Like it's just impossible, like to fucking do it. Like
often where I went wrong was I wouldn't like if I could sleep like a baby, but sometimes like I'd be doing security and stuff and up early, especially when we first opened the gym. So I'd be doing security some nights and I'd be in gym in the morning. It's like, oh God, you'd be
all over the place. Like,
And I know you, when you sleep better, you perform a million times better.
Yeah, like even like I said to you there recently, is since we're living closer to the gym now, I can actually feel the difference. Like last year was such a fucking stressful year.
It's like an hour drive.
An hour drive in and out, and then like by the time you get home, it was 11 o'clock. You're trying to wind down, and then I'd be back up at 6 to be in here for 7, and that would be a training night as well. Like I wasn't getting the recovery, I wasn't getting the sleep. I can do it, but I know how
you were always
mentally
sore though.
Stressful and
very cranky.
I'm always cranky, Matthew, and we know what the common denominator there is, don't we? Anywho, I can actually feel a real difference the past couple of weeks in how my training sessions are actually going. I'm able to get through my training sessions. I'm not like stressing because I know that I've got to get finished as quickly as I can because I've got an hour's drive ahead of us and I've got to try and meal prep and I've got to try and sleep and then I've got to get up and be back in here. And it's so that getting that extra sleep has been hugely beneficial. And I can read a different. And I've said to people before, I can actually function. You know, like I can function on crap diet and I can train and perform really well on a shit diet and dehydration. But if I don't sleep, if I don't have a decent block of sleep, it's horrible. Like that, everything hurts. You're trying to get through it. You're absolutely wrecked. I know sleep is one, and it's when your body grows. It's people don't realize it's when your cells renew themselves. It's when your brain processes everything. Your body needs that time, and if it's not good quality, you're then running into a deficit. And you can't get that back. I don't care what anyone says. You can't make up for that lost sleep and lost regeneration.
Once the damage is done.
How much sleep do you get normally? Or try to get?
I like at the bare minimum like 7. Like 7 to 8 hours. Like that's kind of like my goal. Like goal is like aim to be bed and sleep by fucking 11 and then get up for 7. Like, that's kind of like
the target.
That's the target. Like
I listened. I could tell you, I was talking about the Dan Bell podcast on Dave Tate's Table Talk earlier. He aims for 8 to 9 hours a night, and on comp week he aims for 10 to 14 hours.
Jesus.
Wow.
Yeah, he said he'll load himself up on NyQuil if he has to.
Wow.
Just to get sleep, and he all week for the comp. That's what he tries to do because that's how you recover.
I suppose, like like if you're a power lifter and you're not moving, fair enough. Like, but I think as a strong man who has to move, I don't think that would be very beneficial.
No.
Me, anyways, I know if I was sleeping that much, I'd be too stiff, and like the thought of sleeping that long makes me anxious. Just thinking about it,
it's crazy, isn't it?
Yeah, it's way too much.
I have to assume that he's not actually asleep the whole time; that he's just maybe lying in bed for a few hours, relaxing himself.
Yeah,
possibly. But
so like he is 180 kilos.
About 180 kilos, He was saying like the NyQuil over there and send you to sleep.
Oh, it's got whatever.
Lug some of that back and just make sure he sleeps well.
No, it's too much for me now.
A bit too much. Yeah, it was just, I thought it was nuts as well. I was like, wow, that is a lot of time to try to sleep.
We'll quickly touch on methods outside of
Definitely.
supplementation. So I guess kind of like one last thing, foam rolling before you're training. It fucking blows my mind the amount of people that don't foam roll. Like, again, I think I mentioned before in the podcast, some people come into the shop and they're asking for like knee wraps, and I'm like, why do you want knee wraps? He said they got fucking knee pain. I asked them, do they foam roll? They don't foam roll. They do a bit of foam roll, and lo and behold, their fucking knee pain goes away. So, like, you gotta be realistic. Like, what we're doing in this sport, you're fucking damaging your body, beating it up every goddamn week. Like, so, especially like when you're going to sleep, like, and if you're not moving as much, like that's where everything kind of like tightens up, and like, that's great. If you look at animals, like they stretch before and after they wake up, like they go to sleep, like. So it's just like it's a very important thing to do. Like, so it's, again, foam rolling before your training can help take the tension out. You can improve your range of motion. Try, like, I'm not very much for doing deep stretching before training. So what I mean by that, like, you know, holding a static position and pushing yourself into it. Because like what you're doing, if you think about it, like you're like stretching out your muscles, they're not going to be able to have that kind of like, they're not going to have that tension, not going to have that quick fire response. So, and then you going in to try to do your fucking squats, and afterwards, and your quads are all like all over the place and all soft and everything. Like, it's not going to happen. Like, but if anybody who's done like GAA or anything like that, like, you know what like dynamic stretching is. So like walking lunges, kind of leg sweeps, hamstring leg sweeps, all that kind of stuff where you're kind of moving, but you can still kind of like push the range of motion.
That can be really simple. You just leg swings, front to back, side to side.
Arm rotations, shit like
even
that.
Like going into a lunge position with your knee on the floor and just rocking back and forwards.
Yeah, that's
to open up that movement.
Yeah. As long as you're kind of got movement in what you're doing, like it's like when you're like staying and you're pushing past that point of stretch, which like that stuff has beneficial. But again, do that stuff on your days off, like or even like I'd always like we train late on the Tuesday and Thursday, so it's hard to do it then. But all my other days, I foam roll and stretch before I go to bed. Like that's kind of my wind down routine. Like it's just
relaxing
like,
as well.
It is huge, like fucking hugely. So like I just put on podcast, just foam roll for about fucking maybe 20 minutes, and then stretch then for about maybe like another 20.
Is that just static deep stretching? Is it
static? Yes, like get very deep into stuff before I go to sleep. Then because at least then when I go to sleep, the muscles will kind of like tighten back up again, but they're not like overly like tightening. If you see what I mean, like they've had that chance to come off. Like, and like doing that stuff is like, I think that's can really make a big difference on whether you're just like an athlete or somebody who could actually become a champion. Like, because it is so overlooked, and when you're in a sport like this, like longevity is hugely important. Like, so like again, I know so many people who are competing at a relatively top level who don't do this, and they wonder why they're in so much pain every day.
It's interesting because like there's a big thing out there at the moment. Like a lot of people say you shouldn't bother foam rolling and you shouldn't do static stretching, and other people will be like you should just do activate. There's all these theories out there, but like you just do everything. Basically, don't you? And like, and there's a lot of other top athletes out there that do a bit of everything. I know a lot of top athletes that like they'll do static stretching on their days off and stuff, and it'll even be close to yoga. Like, and they're all the healthiest people we know, and the people that are doing the best. There's absolutely nothing wrong with it.
No.
If it makes you feel better and it works for you, then fucking have at it.
I think that's one of the biggest things. There's so many, I'm gonna do air quotes here, experts on the fucking internet and social media, and every fucker has an opinion. And you know what? No one has a better opinion on your body than you. And unless you're being a couch potato, basically, then your opinion doesn't count. But you know what works for you. I know what works for me. You're trying to find out what works for you to fix you at the moment. But generally, you know what you need to do in order to release some form of tension or pain in the body. You know what works for you. I know I've gone through different types of pre-warm-up activation for this, that, and the other, and I'm finding now what works best for me. And what works best for me pre-training is not doing tons and tons of activation. It's not doing loads of different stupid movements or whatever. It doesn't work for me, because then I actually end up too tired or too sore from doing all this activation work, and I can actually do what it is I need to do. So I have my basics, and I have my bit of foam rolling, and I have my getting the ball into wherever I need to. Dave Fitzpatrick is actually one of the best people I think to watch in here. And Dave basically does a scan of his body. He has a move around, has a bit of a wiggle around. If there's something a bit tight or something a bit, giving him a bit of jig,
a bit of a stretch and roll.
He'll go into it. That's it. Does his warm up. The man
feels fine again. Off he goes.
He's the least damaged. There's a lot of us.
He is, honestly, he's the healthiest, I think.
He really is, and he's been lifting for years. So there's a lot to be said for okay, I know a lot of things like even with the sports therapy at the moment that I'm doing. There'd be the jury might be on this and there's research on that, but if it does no harm and you feel good afterwards, then
I've had it. Yeah. I think there's too many strong opinions essentially out there on what you shouldn't do. I think a lot of the time, and I think a lot of them people shut the fuck up.
Especially when those people aren't even doing what you're trying to do. Like, that's the one thing I know that I kind of like if you're looking to like improve yourself with like strongman and stuff, like you should look to see what other strongmen are doing. Like you get a lot of PTs that have no backing behind them, and they're just saying the shit off. Like, it's just fair enough. They may be right, like, but if they're not, I'd always listen to like what people are doing themselves.
Yeah.
Because if they're doing it themselves, then like they won't be doing it for fucking to hurt themselves. Like,
yeah.
They're doing it for their own benefit. Like,
What else have you got there?
Hot and cold.
We're trying to keep it a short one.
Yeah, hot
this
and
was
cold
supposed to be
therapy
15
then.
minutes, and we've got to 30. So
Okay, so
anyway,
hot and cold therapy. So every fucking morning, wake up, go into the shower, just like blast hot water, just kind of loosen the muscles out, and I go over back down with the cold water. I think just mentally as well, I need to feel cold water in the morning time. Otherwise, my day is just
to wake you up.
No, not even just wake me up. I just don't feel right if I don't feel cold water in the morning time. It's just kind of more of a mental thing. So you get the physical benefits of it as well. But that's just kind of just like an absolute must for the day.
Okay.
I suppose for myself as well, I'm a great advocate of the hot and cold therapies. And again, we know there's loads of opinions on how they should be done. And once again, I find what's right for you. I would go down to Apollo some of the times before more come into competition time and do the jacuzzis and the sauna and stuff there. More recently now, I've actually started back swimming. I would go down to sea before, but I just got membership for a pool because I feel far more secure in the pool than I do out in the sea. But it's that movement. I like to swim. I like that movement. It's good for my cardiovascular system and it's just good for my body. And I feel it's actually done my shoulders and my thoracic spine an awful lot of good. I was saying this to you actually there recently. And I've only been doing it there for the past week. It relaxes my mind. So it's a good downtime for me. So no more than Apollo, it's that 1 hour. My phone is nowhere near me because I'm in the water. So no one can get hold of me. I'm not thinking about anything else but not drowning while I'm swimming because I'm not the strongest of swimmers. So my focus is purely on the moment, which I think is massive. What else then? Again, the hot cold showers I think are a good one if you don't have access to the hot and cold pools or the jacuzzis. Hot bath, cold shower. Massive benefits to having that burst of cold water. It doesn't have to be 3 minutes. Like there's benefits that we had for 30 seconds, 30-second bursts under the water. Stimulates the brain, stimulates the body, gives you that wake up burst. So I'd be a big ad for that. And again, as you said there, mobility and just walking, moving, getting out in daylight, which is sometimes really difficult because we're stuck in offices or factories and stuff. So there's that, as I love to say, there's that draw in the evening now. It's getting longer, and there's that bit more sunshine and a bit more daylight. So to get out there and get that daylight into you.
I think that's one that people miss out on a lot, especially in strength sports. Is they do their training and that's it. They don't do anything else. They drive to work and they might sit at work all day and then they get into the car and they drive to the gym. And I think a daily 15, 20, 30-minute walk, cycle, something. Just to get them, it doesn't have to be intense at all. It's just getting blood flowing. Exactly. It's active recovery.
Like one of the best things I think now is like the dogs are with us an awful lot at the moment, so they need to be walked. So I have a great walk that I take them. I pop them in the van and drive them to the place. But it's a nice big walk. There's also a place I can walk to as well. But there's a good 10-minute walk where the dogs can run around. I really like this space. It's quite a peaceful space. It's up near the race course, and getting in the air, and even if it's raining, I don't mind being out there. It's a nice place, and the dogs are having fun and they're running around. But it gives you that out. You're out in the air. You're out in daylight. So and moving around.
So I know we said we'd finish this up quick, but if you were to prioritize in an order sleep, food, supplements, or your other active recovery modalities, how do we prioritize it? Or honestly, like it could be a case of, I know Cillein's stressing about the thought of this. Are they all as important as each other to you?
I think one can't work without the other. That's the way I see it. Like I feel like it's kind of like if you're doing something like this, like you need to have your diet, you need to have your training, you need to have your recovery. So it's like if you don't have one of those things, you're going to have a knock-on effect to the others. Like so, it's kind of like you're looking to optimize everything, and it's like you can't optimize one without the other one being at 100%. Like so, it's kind of like. I couldn't really put it in the order. I feel like they're all of equal importance. Like, and it's a formula basically. Like, you can't take one out and you expect to get the same end result. Like,
yeah. Because I'll give you a little bit of why. To me, what that's all linked in is if you're hungry going to bed, you're going to have trouble sleeping.
Yeah.
Right. If you're stressed from the day, you're going to have trouble sleeping. And then if you don't sleep, you've got a knock-on effect of the next day of probably either emotionally or because if you're really tired,
then your food goes to shit.
Your food goes to shit, right? So to me, and then the supplementation, I'd say I'd even take that out of that for the equation. I think sleep, recovery from active recovery, and diet are probably the three most important things. And then the supplementation is what it is. It's a supplementation to the rest of that. Get those three things in order.
You still see it as important?
Not as important as the other three. Absolutely not. Because if you
get in the grand scheme of things.
In the grand scheme of things, no.
Okay.
1, 2, and 3. Diet, your recovery in the sense of calming the mind, calming the body, moving, and your diet are the three things. And sleep. I think I said diet twice. And then you look at that supplementation as to boost the rest of it.
I'd agree, because like if you go back 30 years when these supplements weren't there, people were still getting strong. They were sleeping well, they were eating well. I'm assuming you could still do active recovery. I'm not sure if they had all the information that we have now to do it all as well as we can, but that was all still there. And the supplements they're a great added bonus though.
Oh, they really are.
And like if the guys that were 30 years ago they'd all be taking it. Like I heard of this funny story actually. I was talking to Ken Heaney down in City Gym a while back, and like this is only going back to 12, 14 years ago. They couldn't, there was no protein supplements, there was no protein powders, but they could get like some, I don't know, it's a pharmacy or shop in Galway, had like this powder stuff that was basically a protein formula for people that were like ill.
I think it's like Ensure or something.
So they used to go down. There's only place you could buy, so everyone in the City Gym was going on and buying it. And they put it into a glass cup. They'd like wrap it in cling film or put plastic over it, like a plastic bag over it, and shake it up and then drink it. But there was no taste. It was supposed to be absolutely horrible. Wow. So like even like back before they were trying to figure ways out, like because as people that want to be elite athletes, you want to find the edge.
You want to find a way, like
you want to find the edge, and that's where the supplements really come in. It's the edge.
Like
it's optimizing everything.
I remember my father even longer ago than probably going on and saying how if you want to be strong and you want to get extra protein, you drink raw eggs and milk. And that's what they were doing.
It back then,
That's what he was doing to get that extra.
Probably not as beneficial as they thought it was.
But that's what it was. It was raw eggs and milk. So
trying to find their edge.
There was their protein and their calcium, and that was what they were doing. So so they were always like that route. But I will always be different. I suppose everyone's trying to find the edge, like you said. What's the next?
And it's only the arsenal of supplements that people take are only going to increase as they improve because. Why not?
Yeah.
If you can get a benefit out of it, have at it. Have at it.
Yeah.
Anything else on that subject, lads?
We've almost gone full-length podcast.
We've pretty much gone full-length podcast on one. So, well, in fairness, like it's pretty in depth. It's really important. It's like I've mentioned the last couple of podcasts. Your program isn't just the reps and sets you do. It's everything. It's nutrition. It's the sleep. It's everything else outside of that. It's the whole, as you said. It's a whole package, it's not just.
It's all linked.
Yeah, you can't prioritize anything because it's all important.
It's all important. Like it's all the job. Like.
Yeah. So like, it's the whole thing all in one. It is really important, and again, if you want to get to the top levels, it's kind of what it takes.
Yeah,
it's optimizing everything. So yeah, I think that's actually a full podcast on one subject. But look, it's important. He said it's important, and there's a reason we've gone on so long because it is an important subject.
Probably touch on it again some other time.
I am sure we will.
In some way.
Right, folks, that is that. Thank you very much for listening. And again, if you're liking and enjoying it, share it on and give us some feedback. Bye.
Thank you very much.